Hello, this is Emily, and I would like to welcome you to this Uni-edit video. How do peer reviewers manage conflicts of interest? Conflicts of interest are not desirable in academic publication. All people involved should make efforts to avoid conflicts of interest and to resolve them when they do occur. Blind peer review to avoid conflicts of interest. Peer review is typically done blind, which means the peer reviewer is not told the name nor institution of the author of the paper. Even though authors are blinded, conflicts of interest can arise if the peer reviewer recognizes the author's work. The peer reviewer can recognize the author's work from aspects of the manuscript, such as the topic, the content of the research, such as the dataset, the timing of the research release. In smaller, narrower fields of research in particular, the peer reviewer often knows whose work it is. Knowing who are the authors isn't a problem most of the time, because peer reviewers are able to be objective in the review process. Objective means the peer reviewers view and respond to the research the same way, whether or not the author is known. However, sometimes if the peer reviewer has already seen and reviewed the work, either at conferences or at other journals, this can make the review process less objective and thus compromise the blind review process. How do journals handle conflicts of interest? While many peer reviewers never or rarely encounter a conflict of interest, journals usually have a number of associate editors to help avoid any conflict of interest so that, for example, colleagues or students of Associate Editor 1 can have their submissions handled by Associate Editor 2. Additionally, journal editors should avoid assigning submissions to peer reviewers at the same institution that they know have a relationship with the authors. A conflict of interest story between colleagues. One peer reviewer was sent a paper to review, which involved an analysis of data that he and other colleagues had submitted to a group for use in a workshop. This group had not agreed to it being used in publication because one of them was using it for her PhD thesis and was planning to publish it herself first. This caused a conflict of interest because her colleague was unable to review the paper fairly because he was angry about their data being used and he wanted to stop the paper from being published. To resolve the matter, he contacted the journal editor to explain the situation, and they launched a process within the university to stop the other authors, who worked at the same university, from publishing the paper. Peer reviewer worked with the author previously. Another example of a possible conflict is if a paper is sent to an author's former supervisor or mentor to review. The peer reviewer is required to notify the journal editor of all conflicts of interest and usually withdraw from the review process. How does Uni-edit handle conflicts of interest? Here at Uni-edit, we handle conflicts of interest professionally, although they rarely come up. An English editor for Uni-edit encountered a possible conflict of interest when asked to do English editing on a research paper that she had been involved in peer reviewing for the journal. To avoid the conflict of interest, she simply explained to her project manager at Uni-edit that she was unable to edit the paper, and the project manager assigned a different English editor. We hope you enjoyed this tip. Once again, this is Emily from Uni-edit. Have a wonderful day.